All right, everyone. Welcome to Tiger Talk Thursday. And we actually have episode 45. We are in for a special treat. We actually have Kristin Della Rovere. Did I say it right? Della Rovere?
Perfect.
In the house. She is 23 years old from Caledon East, Ontario, graduated in May from Harvard University, where she studied psychology and neuroscience and played for the women's ice hockey team. In 4 years there, she accumulated over 120 points. And in 2022 and her 2023 season, she wore the C for captain and ended the regular season as the NCAA leader with 529 faceoff wins and reached the 20-point plateau for the fourth time. Her best offensive season was in 2021 to 22 with 40 points, which led to ECAC Hockey First Team All-League and All-Ivy First Team recognition. So for those of you that are new to the series, I mean, we mostly have been focusing on life after sports, but I do like to bring on some athletes in sport as well through the mix because it's so important that we dig into their headspace as they navigate their hockey playing career. So welcome, Kristin, to the call.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, and you're in Ottawa, my hometown, which is amazing. Let's just go back to your younger playing years. I did see some article floating around that you've been reunited with your childhood friend. Was it Zoe? Is it Zoe?
Yes, Zoe Boyd.
Yes, and that you guys used to skate on the the backyard pond, which I really relate to because my husband builds an amazing rink for our kids in the backyard. But let's go
Yeah.
back to your younger playing career. Were you always into hockey? Was it something that you just did? Talk to us about it.
Yeah, I think I grew up playing mainly hockey and soccer, and got to a point where I had to make a decision of what to play, and I chose hockey. I just enjoyed it a lot more. But growing up, I played boys hockey until I was about 14 or 15. And so that's where Zoe came in the picture as well, because we grew up playing boys hockey together and we were the only girls on the team and, a few of the only girls in the league. So we kind of had a lot of bonding to do and got to experience it all together. But yeah, Zoe lived down the street from me and I had a pond in my backyard growing up. So in the winters, we'd always clean it off and play pond hockey on it. We never really flooded it or anything, just kind of played it with the ice as was. But she would walk to my house. It was about a 25-minute walk, and she'd walk up the street and we'd play hockey with her friends and my brother and whatnot. And so getting the opportunity to play with her again and play teammates in the professional women's hockey league is really exciting for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get more Canadian than that, eh? So, and then where were you, or were you talking to different teams? Like, what was your experience? I talked to a lot of younger athletes like U15,
Mhm.
U18, U22. I do a lot of work. I do a lot of work with mindset with them. And obviously they've got their eyes on, NCAA scholarships or things like that. What were you doing? Did you talk to scouts? Were you looking at a couple different teams, or how did you end up at Harvard?
Yeah, I think the first school that reached out to me, I was in eighth grade. Um, and again, that was super early, and my parents were like, "We are not talking to this way. You haven't even graduated elementary school." And I think the college process was very foreign to my parents as well, who, are immigrants and grew up in Canada and didn't play sports the same way that I had the opportunity to play. So I kind of had a good mentor and a good coach who helped me with the process. But I think it was around 10th grade where I really started talking to teams more seriously and schools more seriously and starting to go on a few visits. But I think, especially because at the time there was no sustainable professional women's hockey league. So I knew I couldn't really make a living just playing hockey. I had to have another job and have another, path that I want to go down. So I decided that I really want to go to the Ivy League and get a good education. And I studied really hard in high school. So I kind of had that plan. And while going through the process, Harvard was just the school that I fell the most in love with. And the coaches and the girls on the team kind of, when people say, it was the same experience. I think I always had in my mind I wanted to go there. And so when I had the opportunity and the chance to go, I was excited. I couldn't say no.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I played at the University of New Hampshire in the NCAA, but 2000 to 2004, and I remember going to Harvard and just being. I actually spoke to Harvard, Princeton, and Yale. Similar thing. I was a little
Mhm.
bit younger. My parent, I think at the time, they were entertaining, like, going to their prep school or some sort, and my parents were like, "We're not sending you this early," you know?
Yeah.
The conversation died down pretty quick because at the time I was so young, and they're like, "We're not sending you to the US." But I had a lot
Yeah.
of girls from the Boston area and as well on my hockey team, which I love. But I know that I knew that feeling of showing up on campus, doing a recruiting trip, and being like, "I'm definitely going to UNH." I loved it. So 4 years
Yeah.
there. Um, let's talk about that experience. Now, I don't care about the stats or anything, and you do have an amazing background. I really care about the player beneath the jersey and what you've gone through. Talk to me about your freshman year. I know there were some things that you went through personally, and how did you navigate that?
Yeah, I think my freshman year was really difficult. I mean, you're moving to a new city on a new team where when you get to college, I think every player in their high school team is the top player, one of the top players,
Yeah,
and now you're coming to a new team in college where you're no longer the top player and you're kind of fighting for a spot and trying to make a name for yourself again. And I didn't have any friends that were on the team currently. I didn't know anyone,
yeah.
and the coaches were all American coaches, so I never overlapped with them anywhere. And so it was a new experience for me just going to a new team where you didn't know anyone and being in a new environment as well, where you're learning to balance, school and hockey at the top level. And in my freshman year, about less than a month after getting to school, one of my really close best friends passed away. And I was very grateful where I had my mom who came down to Boston and stayed close by for a little bit, but I think it definitely made my experience difficult at the beginning because I didn't have anyone where I felt like I can turn to necessarily. I think my
Mhm.
teammates were amazing and they were really good, but I just didn't know them well enough to have that connection. And I think it was, it didn't take long for me to feel that connection to them though, and kind of know that they had my back and they were looking out for me. And my coaches were amazing and helped me get the resources that I needed to,
Yeah.
keep performing well. And so it was definitely a learning experience and a growth experience and was one of the more difficult experience in my life, but
Y
I
can we
think
back I'm really I apologize for
yeah.
your loss, but I would love if you could share, and thank you so much for your honesty and vulnerability. I mean,
Mhm,
I couldn't imagine what that experience would be like. But when we talk a lot about mindset and, how do you show up when life outside of hockey? I mean, it's your profession now, and even as an athlete, and we're human. If we need to take time off, obviously, no one will fault you at that. But what was your routine? How do you navigate something like that for any athletes that are watching that are having trouble, still showing up in their day to day or being able to play? Or what was that experience like for you? Did you take time off or did you deal with it during off when you were away from practice? Or could you
mhm.
maybe share with that if you're open to that?
Yeah, I think for me, hockey was still the kind of like therapy. Like it was
Mm,
the place where I had the most fun and I felt like I could escape from life. And so although at that time it was a very stressful time, it kind of quieted my mind from everything else. Like I wasn't worried about my performance necessarily or playing time or anything like that. I just wanted to be there. And I think the girls were amazing. And so being in that atmosphere and having fun with the players and just it was enjoyable in those moments. And then I think away from the rink, that's when I struggled the most and we kind of started doing therapy and
yeah.
learning to be nice to myself and let myself experience the emotions as they came,
Mm,
which I think was really important for me is I was someone who would always like to kind of push those emotions down and try to act like everything was okay, but I had to learn to, let those waves come and experience them and sit with them. And then, when it's time to go to class or go to hockey, like kind of focus on that at the moment and get the work done that needs to be done. But I definitely don't think I could have gotten through that if it wasn't for my family support and also the support from my coaches and my teammates because those girls were always there for me in the smallest ways and the big ways. And I think my coaches were also very respectful and lenient with me if I needed some time or whatever. They understood, but they also knew that I didn't want it to be like an elephant in the room. I just wanted
yeah.
to play. And I think, I can't thank those girls enough because whether it was a small thing like asking me to go for a coffee or a meal or something, just to talk about it, get, somewhat of a distraction, or just little things that, let me know that they're there was a big thing for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple things that you said that really stand out to me is not trying to stuff your emotions down. Really sitting with those feelings, let them bubble up. Did you journal at all? Did you get into that sort of thing, or are you a writer?
Yeah, I did get into journaling a lot. It was new for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of resistance to people that are new to journaling, but
Yeah.
it is something that I speak to any athletes that I work with as just navigating, getting to know your emotions and where they're coming from, and also letting them bubble up. So I love that you said that, and I also love that you said, how your team was there to support you, and it doesn't have to be these extravagant gestures. It could be just checking in on you, going for coffee. But when you feel that support, would you agree that that allows you to show up at the rink and perform to the best of your ability regardless of what you're going through because they showed up for you?
Yeah, 100%. Like I generally don't think I would have been able to perform the same way and, in the classroom and on the ice without them.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm sorry for your loss but thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And you were that year was even so you're going it's your freshman year, brand new team, new environment, trying to juggle schooling, and then you lose a friend, but then also didn't you lose your grandfather in the same year?
Yeah, a few months later, my grandfather passed away, and I was fortunate enough to be very close with my grandparents, and so that was one of the first like kind of family losses I experienced.
Yeah.
Um, and that was in January, and so that was difficult as well. Again, my coaches were very lenient, where I actually drove home after one of the games, so I can be with my family. And at that point, he was very sick, but still there, so I got to see him, and things just moved faster than expected. And so, fortunately, I was home and could spend the time with my family. And I spent that time doing a little bit of flying back between Boston and Toronto, just because we had games. I want to be there for the games to
Yeah.
be home with my family. So my coaches were, again, very lenient with me and allowed me to travel when needed, no questions asked type thing. And my team as well. My team was awesome. Again, they were always there for me, but they also kind of understood that if I missed a practice or one of those practices, that it was for a good reason. And
Yeah.
again, they supported me and whatnot. But I think for me in those moments, that's kind of when all the noise goes quiet when you're playing in a game. Like that's when I think I felt in some ways my most focused, just because it really shows you how kind of how little some of the problems in your head are.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's sometimes it was kind of nice to be playing hockey and be skating and then going back to life after that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. Um, my grandfather, my nickname's Tiger, and he was the one that called me
Mhm.
Tiger. So when he passed away, I can relate to that. And I mean, when you look at your 4 years, I mean, you also had another loss throughout that 4 years, right, with your grandmother. So you really navigated a ton. Um, how was it was a similar experience, or did you feel prepared for that one, or did it kind of blindside you?
I think it was similar. She was about 95, so she definitely lived a long life, but I think she raised me, like she lived with us.
Uh,
We never had a babysitter or nanny. It was my grandma. So I think that one was very special, very hard, but again, I think because she was getting older, we knew it was coming. It was less sudden for me, but it was very difficult. And again, my team, even though it was a few years later, we had some new girls, they all reacted the same way and whatnot. So I think I was better suited since it wasn't the first time I was experiencing it, but I think it hurts just as much.
oh yeah.
And I
Do you
think
have
at
any
that point,
rituals where you include them with your hockey? Is there, like, something you do on the day to
um
day?
not in hockey, I don't think. I think more in life.
Yeah,
And you know, you look back and you always have to thank the people that raised you and that got you to where you are. And those were some of the most important people for me. And so I always think about it. And I'm always grateful for the sacrifices that they made for me. And just my family loves to, especially just because it was Christmas and getting together, we
yeah.
love to talk about those memories and, celebrate the life type thing.
I love that you said that. Thanking parents or those that, the time investment. I mean, I'm on the other side now. I'm the parent. I say this to my friends all the time. I really prefer being the player
Yeah.
than being on the other side. I mean, and I had a older brother and sister who all played competitive. So, I mean, I don't even know how they made it happen. Um, but what has that experience been like for your parents? And, I see a lot of younger players and and I talk to them about, are you thanking your parents? Because sometimes we see a younger generation, and not everyone, we've all grown up differently, but this entitlement piece or, the work that we put in, yes, they need to show up and get us there to the rink, and they invest all the time and money there. We need to show up on the ice and pull our end of the deal. But what would you say to your parents or athletes and what those people are to them in their lives, and how do you recognize them?
Yeah, I think for me, like when I was younger, I was always grateful, but I didn't necessarily understand the extent. I think it's when I got older and now I have my own bills to pay and everything, and I'm driving and I understand that, when my mom would drive me an hour and a half to the rink to where I played hockey every single day. And just a time commitment from, waking up early on weekends. And I mean, they still come and watch me play all the time. They watch my brother who's at school in the States as well. And just seeing like every weekend, the money and the time that they put
Yeah.
into it, it really started hitting me more when I got older. And I'm like, whoa, that waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the rink isn't necessarily how I would want to spend my Sunday off. But I don't think there's words to thank them enough. And I will forever be grateful for them. And I just love that as I'm experiencing, playing professional hockey, that they're here to kind of experience it with me from the outside, I think is really cool. And they know how thankful and grateful I am, and I will tell them forever. But I also like that this experience is not just about me, it's about everyone who got me here. And even in college, I was about them as well. And I'm so grateful that they, had the funds to come visit me at school and watch me at school, but also could experience it um, as well. My mom would always, when I was at Harvard, she'd always tell me, "Oh my God, if you're learning any cool things in classes, like any lectures, tell me about it. Send them to me. I want to read them too." So whenever I could or whatever they wanted, I'd always try and, you know, help them out too.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I mean, that segues perfectly into the PWHL and being part of. I mean, I played in the National Men's Hockey League where we like were squeezed four of us into a room. I mean, we weren't paid to
Mhm.
play. I mean, it was an amazing experience, but huge congrats there. I mean, to go from
Thank
Harvard
you.
as a captain, an amazing schooling background with a degree. What I love about your journey is, sports are what you do. They're not who you are, and that you did put education first. Obviously, that's very different when we look at different leagues, but when we focus on what you're going through, major accomplishments. So I love that you did that.
Thank
What
you.
does it mean to you to be part of the PWHL and looking forward to this new season?
It's surreal. I think as a little kid, when I was a little kid, I'd always say, "Oh, I'm gonna play in the NHL when I grow up." And people would be like, "Yeah, yeah, for sure you are." And I think even with the other leagues, they were professional hockey, and I think they were a step to, where we want to be. And so now that I'm in this opportunity and I got drafted, which was a whole surreal experience, you're kind of looking at it and you're like, whoa, I'm in at the women's NHL type thing. It's the
Yeah.
women's professional hockey league, which is kind of surreal when you sit back and you look at it. And all the support we've got from the city of Ottawa has been amazing, and just the facilities we get, our staff are incredible. And it's different when you're used to paying for everything, or you're used to college hockey and not necessarily getting same resources as we're getting today. And hearing that our home opener is going to have over 8,000 people is
I will be
like mind
there.
blowing. It's just like a surreal experience, and it happened all so fast, which is also crazy. And we have a long way to go and get there, but right now everyone's just so excited to play.
So, and I focus a lot on life after sports, and obviously you're graduating Harvard. Were you thinking about the PWHL? Obviously, rumors had been circling at that time. Was it on your radar, or were you planning for life after sports and what you were doing next?
At Harvard, I was a pre-med student, so my plan was always to go to med school. I decided in my kind of near the end of my Harvard career that I wanted to continue playing. So I for this season, I actually signed a PHF contract, and that obviously I had this merge into the PWHL, so I was planning to play for the year, but um, my timeline of when that transition to med school happened has got a little more blurry after this league, started. So I definitely still have aspirations to go to med school and follow that life path, but I'm excited to play hockey for a few years and kind of experience the professional women's hockey league.
Yeah, for sure. When you look back, I mean, you're 23 years old. When you look back on your 23 years, do you see a common thread of great work ethic and a good attitude? I mean, I love that you said gratitude has always been a part of you. I do feel grateful in the sense that it has been kind of innate to me without even realizing it, and how it does help you get through and navigate any type of obstacles or new adventure. But when you look back at the last 23 years, and probably how old were you when you started playing? Like 4 or 5? Were you?
Yeah, like 5, I think.
Okay, so 19, 18 years. Is there a common, like, if your teammates could describe you, what do you think they would say? Are you the workhorse? Are you the fancy one? Obviously, you win a lot of draws and stuff like that, but what would you say you're known for?
Um, I would say like more of the hardworking player. I think in my younger days, I always had these goals of where I wanted to play and what I wanted to do, whether that would be playing junior hockey or college hockey and whatnot. So I always had these goals and wanted to make sure that I achieved them. And in high school, for me, that I had to transition from, instead of going to normal high school, going to a sports school just so I could get the extra exposure and just it was what I felt I needed at the time. And so I think I I would say workhorse, but I also think it just kind of came naturally at the time, especially when you're a kid and you enjoy hockey and you love it. It's so easy to do that. And I was always so competitive and everything that
Yeah,
it kind of made it easier.
I love that. What would you say? Now, I did read, and I forget one of the articles, with it's Carla McLeod, that's the head coach, right, of the Ottawa team?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
love the concentration on the foundation off the ice and building the culture. I've heard that with the GM, as well, that's been a big focus in Ottawa. And that made me just, I was so excited to hear that. Obviously, you need to gel on the ice, but if you gel off the ice, and I preach this to the teams that I work with, when I go into a team and they're not doing so well, I can tell that the dynamic behind closed doors is not well for the team, and we know what we need to work on. But what's that experience been like for you with the Ottawa team, and what are you guys doing so that you are gelling off the ice?
Yeah, I think we have a cool experience with our team because for me at least, it's the first time I've been on a team where there are girls almost 10 years older than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the age range and people are in different points in their life as well. Kind of add different dynamics to the team in a good way. But we also have girls from, I believe, 6 different countries on our team, which is really cool because, we have a player from Japan who's unbelievable, 2 from Czech, Hungary, Germany, US and Canada and whatnot. But we have a lot of, really cool players. So it's exciting for us, I think, as a team just to learn about their experiences. And there's a lot of new faces that, I've never met some of these girls before. Even I get to play with girls who are like Brianne Jenner, who's like a legend, which is also really cool. And I think we're so grateful that when picking the team, our GM and coaches didn't just pick good players; they picked good people. I
I
think
love
that
that.
started with them, and then the girls make it easy. Everyone's so nice. So again, grateful to be, in this position. And when you're a professional hockey player, which we're experiencing for this first time, is after you're done practice at 3 p.m., you don't have a job to go to, you don't have school to do. So
Yeah.
it gives you more time just to bond with girls in a different way. And we've done some team stuff, whether that's dinners or community outreach. Went to a Sens game, which was so fun, and a few other things. But I think the girls overall just are great people and want to get to know one another. And they make the culture of having a family so easy. And I think it's just everyone's in the same boat of wanting to experience, a great team, and the
Yeah.
girls make it easy.
I love that. I mean, culture is so important. I mean, you see it. It's everything, right? It's how you handle setbacks. It's how you react on the ice when something goes wrong.
Mhm.
It's how you treat your teammates. It's how you respect your coaches. It's how you present yourself in the community as an extension of the PWHL or the Ottawa team, right? No matter everything you do is an extension of who you are. And if you have good people, it's going to trickle out into the community and to the fans. And that culture is amazing. And I'm so excited for you. Any
Thank you.
final words for athletes that are navigating any obviously transitioning from, you know, high school to university, or they're going through those, freshman year and now they're senior, any of those, what advice would you give athletes so that they can show up consistently and still play great hockey while being human and navigating everything that's demanded of
Mm.
them? What would you say?
I think first would just to enjoy the process. I think it's so easy to get wrapped up, and it's so easy, especially to make the college process very stressful and difficult, and it is a big decision. But just find ways to enjoy the process, and it's part of growing up, and life will kind of take you to where you're supposed to be.
Hmm.
And also that everybody's path is different. I think if you looked at even the girls in our dressing room, everyone's path to getting here to the PWHL and to Ottawa is completely different from one another. And I think it's so easy to compare yourself to other people and look at the girl beside you and maybe wish you had what they had. But I think if you do things right, everyone, you'll get to where you're supposed to be. And life is long,
I love that you said that
there's
though.
more than one way.
Yeah, well, you know what I do notice with some of my U22 girls, I mean, they're so stressed at the beginning of the year about it being their last year that they don't. I'm like, guys, we still have 6 months left. Why are we
Hmm.
focusing on that? That's going to take care of ourselves if we take care of what we need to today, right? And where their focus is. So I love that you shared that, and it's neat. Like
Yeah.
you're 23, but someone who's 10 years older, their path has brought them back to the same experience. So you never really know when those
Yeah.
doors are going to open or close, or what your journey is part of. I love all that. Well, I mean, I'm excited for you. Myself and I got 9 tickets. Myself and 4 moms and our girls that all play competitive. We're going to be at the game on the 2nd cheering you on. Um, Congratulations on, I mean, you've got an Ivy League degree from Harvard. You're playing in the
Thank you.
PWHL. You're paving the way for future athletes. So relish in it, enjoy every moment, and we're excited to see what's next for you. And I really appreciate you joining this conversation. We're passionate about, helping athletes transition to life after sports, but I do believe that transition happens while athletes are in sport. And I love that you have that broader vision of yourself as a person, and it's okay to go to therapy, and I do journal, and how you navigate your feelings, and how you use hockey as an outlet as well. So you're such a well-rounded athlete, so it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Anything else before we shut her down on episode 45? Anything on the tip of your tongue that you just need to get out?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. This was awesome, and I am beyond excited to see you guys at the home opener and
Yeah.
experience that all together because it's making history.
Yes, we are. I can't wait to be part of it. Well, you guys heard it. This is episode 45. We've got Kristin. I want to make sure I'm saying it. Della Rovere. Della Rovere. Did I say it
Perfect.
right?
Yeah.
Episode 45. Look forward to some upcoming athletes to the series, and good luck in the season on January 2nd. We'll be there cheering you on.
Thank you.